Adayabi stood in front of the cracked mirror in her small bedroom in Enugu. The mirror hardly showed her full frame anymore. Her wrapper barely reached around her waist, she tied two together just to cover herself. Her arms were soft and heavy, her face round and puffy. Even bending to tie her slippers left her breathless. Down the corridor, her husband Uchenna shouted. "Ada, hurry up. We're already late for the party." She wiped the sweat from her forehead and forced herself into a green lace gown. The gown had fit her perfectly 2 years ago, before her third pregnancy. Tonight it clung to her like wet cloth. The zipper refused to close. Her 11-year-old daughter tried to help, but the fabric ripped at the seams. Ada's eyes filled with tears. At the party hall, the band played high-life music. Women with slim waists danced in glittering dresses. Men laughed and clinked glasses. When Adayabi entered holding Uchenna's arm, the whispers began. "Look at how fat she has become. She's eating all the money. That man will soon take another wife." Uchenna dropped her hand and walked ahead, pretending not to know her. He went straight to his secretary, Chinyu, a slim girl in a red dress, and held her waist on the dance floor. People laughed openly. Ada stood alone near the drinks table, clutching her handbag like a shield. She could feel their eyes slicing her. That night Ada sat on the edge of her bed. She had pulled off her tight gown and sat in her slip, sweat drying on her skin. She heard Uchenna come home late, the smell of perfume on his shirt. He didn't speak to her. She whispered to herself. "Is this how I will die? A fat woman nobody wants?" The next morning she didn't go to work. She walked to a small church on the outskirts of town and sat in the back row. The pastor's wife, Mama Joy, a big woman with kind eyes, saw her and came over. Ada burst into tears. Mama Joy held her and said, "My daughter, you are not finished. You can rise again." Mama Joy told her about a women's group that met at dawn to walk, pray and exercise. At first Ada laughed. Exercise? She hadn't jogged in years. But something inside her said go. The next morning before sunrise Ada joined the women. She wore an old t-shirt and slippers. The women started jogging. Ada couldn't jog even 2 minutes, she clutched her knees and wheezed. A boy on a bicycle shouted, "Mama Jumbo," and rode off laughing. Her face burned with shame. But Mama Joy put her arm around Ada and whispered, "Ignore them. One day they will clap for you." Day after day Ada came back. She changed her food. She stopped eating meat pies and fizzy drinks. She drank water, ate beans, vegetables, and small portions. She started walking, then jogging, then doing small stretches. The weight dropped slowly. First 2 kilograms, then 5 kilograms, then 10 kilograms. But Uchenna only mocked her more. "All this you're jumping up and down, who will marry you? Chinyu is slim without stress." Ada said nothing. She taped Mama Joy's words on her mirror, "One day they will clap." It had been 10 months since Ada started her morning walks. By now her body had changed so much that even her children stared at her in the mornings. Her cheekbones stood out again. She could wrap her old wrapper twice around her waist. But inside the house she still wore big gowns. She didn't want Uchenna or the neighbors to know how far she'd come. Night Adayabi would sneak into the bathroom, close the door softly and switch on the dim bulb. She would stand in front of the cracked mirror and stare at herself. The old Ada was fading, a new Ada was appearing. Her collarbones showed again. Her arms were firmer. Her stomach was smaller. She ran her fingers across the loose folds of skin and whispered, "Almost there." But to everyone else, she remained the same quiet, fat Ada, wearing long wrappers, big tops, and headscarves. Uchenna didn't notice the shrinking figure hiding under the fabric. He was too busy parading Chinyu at his office parties. He still mocked Ada, calling her hippopotamus under his breath when he passed her in the kitchen. Each insult was like a coal in her heart. But instead of crying, she smiled and wrote it down in her journal under the heading, Fuel. At dawn, she would leave the house in the dark before the cocks crowed. No one in the compound knew where she went. Sometimes she jogged with Mama Joy and the women, sometimes she went alone, headphones on, sweating as the harmattan wind cut her face. She lifted blocks as weights, did push-ups on her veranda, and followed online workouts she downloaded with her cheap phone. By the 8th month, even her children noticed. "Mummy, your arms are small now." She put a finger to her lips and said, "Shoo, don't tell Daddy yet." She was planning something. Neighbors started whispering. "Have you seen Ada lately? She's walking faster now. Her cheeks are no longer round." Some said she was using charms, some said she had surgery in Lagos. Chinyu, hearing the rumors, became restless. She started sneering louder at Ada when she visited the house, flaunting her slim waist and new jewelry. One evening Ada came back from her jog drenched in sweat. Chinyu was seated in the living room, legs crossed, sipping tea. Uchenna sat nearby scrolling his phone. Ada walked past them silently, her long wrapper hiding her body. Chinyu smirked. "Some people are running like goats every morning. It won't change anything." Ada glanced at her briefly, smiled, and climbed the stairs. That smile made Chinyu's stomach turn. Something was changing. By the 10th month Ada had quietly saved money from her small hair-braiding side hustle. She bought a fitted dress, something she hadn't worn in years, and hid it at Mama Joy's house. Mama Joy clapped her hands when she saw Ada in it. "You're ready," Mama Joy whispered. "Not yet," Ada said. "The time is coming." At home Ada's patience grew. She treated her children gently, cooked healthy meals, laughed more. Uchenna began to feel a strange distance, though he didn't understand why. The power balance in the house was shifting slowly, quietly, like a river changing course beneath the earth. One humid night Uchenna came home late, reeking of alcohol and perfume. He found Ada sitting on the sofa reading a book about nutrition. Her wrapper was loose, her face calm. He stared at her for a moment, noticing something he couldn't name. "Why are you smiling?" he barked. "Because my life is changing," Ada replied softly without looking up. He hissed and stormed off to his room. But that night he tossed and turned, his mind replaying the sight of her slim wrists holding the book. Something about her was different. The next morning Chinyu arrived with a tray of food. She caught a glimpse of Ada coming down the stairs in her exercise clothes. The loose top couldn't hide her new shape. Chinyu's eyes narrowed. "Ada," she said with a fake laugh, "you're trying, oh. But you can never be like me." Ada simply adjusted her headscarf and replied, "I don't want to be like you." She walked out, leaving Chinyu standing frozen in the living room. 2 weeks later an invitation came to the house. It was a high-level women's health conference at the Grand Meridian Hotel, the same hotel where Uchenna had once humiliated her. Ada had been chosen as one of the guest speakers after Mama Joy sent in her story to the organizers without telling her. When Ada saw the letter, her hands trembled. This was it. She called Mama Joy immediately. "I'm not ready." "My daughter," Mama Joy replied, "you've been ready since the first day you took that walk." They agreed Ada would make her public appearance there. The night before the conference Chinyu came over again, wearing a tight red dress. She laughed with Uchenna in the living room as Ada came downstairs to get water. Chinyu sneered. "Ada, I hear you're jogging up and down. Don't break the road with your weight." Uchenna chuckled. Ada looked at him with a long, calm stare. For the first time he looked away. She turned to Chinyu and said quietly, "Laugh now. Tomorrow you will see me." Chinyu's smile faltered but she forced a laugh. Ada went back upstairs, locked her door and took out the fitted dress from its hiding place. She held it up in front of the mirror. Her body was ready. Her heart was steady. Before dawn Ada knelt and prayed. She thanked God for strength, Mama Joy for guidance, and her children for patience. She brushed her hair, applied soft makeup and slipped into the fitted Ankara dress. It hugged her new figure like it had been sewn on her skin. For the first time in years she saw the Ada she remembered, strong, beautiful, unafraid. She placed her conference badge on her dress, picked up her bag and stepped out. The lobby smelled of polished marble and expensive perfume. Chandeliers glittered above, cameras flashed, and guests whispered as cars lined up outside. Ada's taxi stopped at the entrance. For a moment she stayed inside, hands trembling on her bag. The driver looked back. "Madam, you day come down?" She nodded, exhaled, and stepped out. The cool morning air hit her skin as the hotel doors opened automatically. The crowd paused. Her Ankara dress clung to a new body no one had ever seen before, sculpted arms, a slender waist, curves redefined. Even her gait had changed, steady, powerful, and slow. Whispers spread through the hall. "Is that not Yuchena's wife? She's slim now, oh. Jesus, she looks like a model." She walked past them like she didn't hear, her eyes fixed ahead. Inside the conference hall, Yuchena had been invited as a guest of the sponsor. Chinyu sat beside him, fanning herself and scrolling her phone. When Ada stepped onto the podium, Yuchena's jaw slackened. Chinyu's phone slipped from her hands. Ada stood behind the microphone. The spotlight lit her face. She took a deep breath and began. "My name is Adiz Okoro. For years I was mocked for my weight. For years I believed I was unworthy. But today I stand here to tell every woman, especially mothers, that we are more than our bodies." The crowd roared in applause. Yuchena stared, cheeks burning. Chinyu dug her nails into her lap. Halfway through her speech Ada pressed a button on a small device. A large screen behind her lit up. Video clips rolled, Chinyu mocking her at the market, Yuchena laughing during one of her humiliations, secret footage Mama Joy had captured. Gasps filled the hall. Ada spoke again. "Sometimes the people closest to you will plant shame in your life. But shame can become fuel. And fuel can burn a path to freedom." She ended her talk with tears streaming down her cheeks. The hall rose to its feet, clapping, whistling, cheering. Reporters swarmed Ada. Women hugged her, crying. Influencers posted her pictures online with the hashtag #AdaInspires. The Minister of Health invited her to collaborate on a national campaign for women's wellness. Across the room Yuchena tried to push through the crowd to reach her. "Ada. Ada, wait." But security held him back. Chinyu slipped away, covering her face from the cameras. Ada turned once, saw Yuchena's outstretched hand, and for a heartbeat their eyes met. He looked smaller now, like a man whose walls had finally collapsed. She smiled faintly, turned to the minister, and walked away. That night, Yuchena sat alone in his car outside the hotel. His tie was loose, his eyes red. He watched Ada's face trending on every social media platform. Comments poured in. From mocked wife to national icon. "Adiz is our hero." Yuchena scrolled and scrolled until his hands shook. Chinyu had vanished from town. No calls. No texts. Just silence. He whispered to himself. "What have I done?" He replayed every insult, every time he'd compared her to a bag of rice, every look of shame he'd thrown at her when she entered a room. The public exposure Ada had kept more than just footage. She had bank transfers, chat screenshots, and voice notes proving Chinyu and Yuchena had plotted her humiliation together. Instead of using them to destroy him instantly, she released a statement: "This is not about revenge. This is about women knowing their worth. This is about changing the story." Still, the evidence made its way into the press. The town buzzed. Chinyu's family disowned her. Yuchena lost his contract with the company that had invited him to the hotel event. Ada's mission. Ada accepted the government's offer to run a nationwide health and empowerment program for mothers. Clinics and gyms began popping up across the country under her foundation's name. She hired nutritionists, counselors, and even stylists for postpartum mothers. Her social media grew into millions of followers. During an interview, a journalist asked, "Will you forgive your husband?" Ada smiled gently and replied, "Some wounds are easily forgotten while some take time to fade off." But Ada still kept one secret, a secret no one, not even Mama Joy, knew. Every night she received anonymous messages from a private number. "You think you've won. But the game is not over." One night, as she prepared for a major televised event, a package arrived at her hotel room. Inside it lay an old wedding picture of her and Uchenna, with a red X drawn across her face. She stared at it, her hand trembling. Who sent it? Chinyu? Uchenna? Someone else? Her phone buzzed again. "You will pay for what you've done." Ada looked out the window at the city lights, her jaw tightening. She wasn't the frightened woman anymore. But she knew the next chapter of her life would test her strength even further. Watch out for part 2 and type part 2 to show your interest in the next turn of event. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, as this channel needs your support to grow.